How you doing? This is a follow-up video on the one I did on cracked cam plates and how my cam plate cracked. Now, on the previous one, I couldn't show you any of the pictures because I couldn't figure out how to get them into the video. But I've since learned how to do that. I'm new to YouTube, so we learn with each one, and hopefully this will get better as I go. Um, And I want to thank those of you that have subscribed. I greatly appreciate it. And I also got a question from a viewer who asked me how I pressurized my cam plate. Now, we'll address that. This requires a special tool. And what I did was I turned the cam plate over so that the oil pump side was facing up. I put the dye in the feed where the oil pump would go, where it supplies oil to the cam plate. Put the tool on it, which covers all the ports and the inlet, which makes it a sealed unit. So theoretically, there's not supposed to be any leaks once you seal it. And the tool that I use has a regulator with a gauge on it. So when you hook your air line up, you have control over how much air you put to the unit. So I put about 15 pounds of air in it, and I watch both the front and the back side of the plate. And that's when I discovered the blue dye coming out of the crack, which you'll see in this video. You'll see the crack, you won't see the blue dye. So I hope that answers your question. Now, moving on. Since I have a cam plate that's total junk, I wasn't interested in going back with a stock Harley plate, cam plate, because of the problem I had had with this one, and I'm not overly thrilled with cast. So there's any number of good plates out there, and Harley makes them, S&S makes them, Fueling makes them. And what I did was I called Fueling directly, and I spoke to one of the techs there. I explained to him the problem that I had, explained to him what it was I wanted to do with the bike, and he gave me his recommendations. So I decided to go with Fueling. I got the Fueling cam plate, oil pump, and it's a high volume oil pump. And I also decided to recam this bike. Now, I had already recammed this bike once, but I wanted a little bit more lower end and mid-range, and the cams that I chose would give me that. I already had quickie push rods in the bike from previous working on it, since you had to change those chain tensioners so many times. I didn't want to have to take the rocker boxes off every time I was removing those or changing the chain tensioners. So we put quickie push rods in. And I like quickie push rods. I'm used to adjusting my push rods down on the bottom, not up on top. And doing it up on top means you got to take the fuel tank off and you got to take the rocker boxes off, which to me is just more work than necessary. So doing it the old way, it made more sense to me. So they were already in there. I also bought a new set of lifters since I was putting new cams in it. So what we did was we put everything together. Oh, and incidentally, I went with a chain drive. I did not go with the gear drive. One reason is because I work on a budget, and going up to the gear drive was a little bit more money than I wanted to spend. And actually, I was spending more money than I wanted to spend anyway. But it was money that was well spent. Put this all together, fired the bike up, and with that high volume pump, I was shocked. My oil pressure went up to 60 pounds cold. I've never seen a Harley have that kind of oil pressure before. Now, it hasn't affected the bike one bit. I mean, I'm not blowing seals out or anything like that. And as the bike warms up, the oil pressure comes down. And Harleys don't need that high volume. They rely on flow rather than volume. But the volume also helps cool the engine. Now, after installing this oil pump, I noticed a distinct difference in how hot my engine ran. Now, I live in Arizona, so in the summertime here, it gets warm. So anything you can do to keep your oil temperature even and not getting too hot is a good thing because heat kills an engine. So at any rate, put everything together. Was extremely happy with the way it ran. It gave me everything I wanted. The only thing I really had to do was adjust the carburetor. Now I am carbureted, that was fairly easy to do. So I changed the mixture so it ran good. And it's given me everything I wanted. I've got great bottom end. I got great mid-range in. I never had a problem with my top end, and my top end remains great. Now, I've been running this setup now for 2 years, and I have not had a problem. That'll pretty much do it for today. So if you have any comments, please put them in the comment box or email me. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe, by all means do that. And thank you for watching.